Hello again, YouTube, and to my Twitch chat, of course. Thanks for sticking with me here. This is Tim Cain showcasing your work. Now, artists have a much easier job than game designers when it comes to this. Let's see if Tim has any recommendations for people in the industry, how to showcase your work, how to get noticed.
Hi everyone, it's me, Tim.
Hi, Tim.
Today I want to talk about showcasing your work.
Hi, Tim.
I've talked on this channel about making games, making demos for your games,
Yes, do that.
making game design portfolios to try to get a job.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never really talked about how exactly how you should put them together and what you should decide on to show in them. In fact, Shakirovich Dev during my game design portfolio video left this comment. This is a good video, but I think what most people struggle with is how to effectively showcase all those things that you laid out. Would you do a video about it? I think it's going to be very helpful. So that's what I want to do. I'm going to talk about
It's a good question. How to properly show it. I mean, there's boring ways to show information, and then there's interesting ways. I think that the more effort you put into making it digestible is really key here. So it's not necessarily just about the content, but about how easy it is to figure out who you are and what you can do. And I think that there's plenty of creative ways that you can do that. You don't even have to be creative. Again, I don't think people are expecting your CV and your portfolio, the layout of them and the how they obtain information to be creative. They just want it to be simple to get, simple to interact with. So if you have like a website but it loads really slowly, that's frustrating. If you have a video of what you can do but it's 3 hours long, frustrating, right? It's not easy to digest. So that's really what it comes down to. Is showcasing, I think, would come down to making it just accessible. Because they look at, some of these places are going to look at hundreds of CVs in a week potentially, and they want to just make sure that they're hiring the best person, they're hiring the right person, and that you can accomplish the work that you need to accomplish.
showcasing your work. And this isn't just in your game design portfolio. This is in your game itself. This is in a demo for your game.
That too.
These are even for things like game trailers that usually are like 15, 30 seconds or a minute. Or the same rules even apply if you want to talk about eventually doing press interviews or podcasts. What I'm going to talk about are things that I always go through with my coworkers and the comms people, communications, the director, and the people assigned to the project. These are things we always go to or go through for everything we're going to talk about the game. They talk about talking points and coming up with memeable quotes and stuff like that. What I basically want to talk to you about, it breaks down into three things:
Okay.
how to decide what you want to talk about, what you want to show, how to show it, and how much time you got. Though, if you can answer those three questions about your particular project, I think it'll go a long way for you knowing how to showcase your work.
Yeah, that's a good point, especially with how much time you have. Because we mentioned that if you're in like a pitching room, right, with some publishers, likely you have 30 minutes to an hour. That's it. And that's a hell of a lot longer than you get with a trailer, where at most people are going to be interested within the first, sometimes 30 seconds or even fewer seconds than that. All of this matters, and it's not just about being dense with the content that you provide, because I don't think that a trailer that is very dense is necessarily a good trailer. The trailer needs to be understandable. You need to communicate what the game is, and sometimes the best way to do that is to show no text at all, to just let the players sink in the world, to get immersed in it. Maybe sometimes it is what's the word I'm looking for? Like a speech at the start of the trailer, right? Like, building you into what the world is. Sometimes it's just jumping you right into gameplay. I mean, I think that there are multiple ways to do this, and it all depends on who you're showcasing your work to, what work you're showcasing, and like he said, yeah, exactly what time you have to actually showcase the work. 30 seconds is very different than being able to showcase your work in 30 to 60 minutes.
So let's start with asking yourself what you want to show. I think there's a bunch of questions that you need to ask because I don't know what your game is. I don't know what you're trying to do. So ask yourself first, what is special about your game? What is it that made it special to you? Why did you want to make it?
Usually these are going to be your pillars and your selling points, which may or may not have some overlap, right? I wouldn't say that pillars are necessarily your selling points, but pillars likely will help to define your selling points. Those are probably the things that you want to show off the most. Like, hey, what is your game? Okay, it's an RPG game. Okay, but why is it? What about your combat is so special? Well, it's alchemy combat, right? So that's what we need to show in a trailer, is that the way that you fight with things and the way that you interact with the environment is through potions. I'm using Colden Chronicles as an example. Those are the things you want to show because those are what set your game apart. They are selling points that are derived from your pillars. My pillars are alchemy and the open world and the things that you can do within that open world, the variety. So we might showcase fishing and farming too, to show to players that this is more than just a make potion, throw potion game. This is also a bit of more of a life sim game too.
And then ask yourself, what is it about my game that I want people to notice?
Yes.
Like if they go to end to play this game, what do I want them to take away from this game or this demo or this trailer or this interview? What do you want them to take away and think about? What do you want them to tell other people? What do you want them to go to their friends and go, wow, you won't believe this game. It has this. Or I just saw a game trailer and I'm super excited because the game does this.
And that's where those like memeable moments, it's about creating, again, it's not about being dense necessarily. You don't have to, you have to be memorable. You have to be memorable and you have to leave players with an understanding of what the game is. They shouldn't watch a trailer and say, yeah, I still don't know how this game is going to play or what it's going to feel like. They should say, okay, I get the game, and that scene in it was really cool, or that trailer was really funny. Maybe it was memorable because it made me laugh, and it was different than other trailers. I think that the Outer Worlds 2 trailer was actually pretty good in this regard. They didn't even have gameplay. Let me show you the Outer Worlds 2 trailer, because it is relevant to Tim Cain in some way, since he worked on the first game. I think it was this one. Oh, that's loud.
We begin by hearing an old, wise-sounding voice. And we see a quiet, peaceful setting. This will make our game seem big and important. Now, something must break the serenity. Will this creature be in the game? No. Say goodbye to it forever. Suddenly, and for no reason, people running. These pointless slow-motion shots make everything seem cool and should bolster pre-sale numbers. That wah sound can mean only one thing. We must gaze over an epic shot of a world. And there should be lens flares. Now we see our hero. But only their silhouette, because the developers haven't finished the design, or finished the story, or finished any gameplay that's actually ready to show. In fact, the only thing they have finished is the title.
To me, that is a very memorable trailer. And I could get mad at it for not showing any gameplay, as I would with most other trailers. But I accept this. I accept how it turned out because it is funny, it is memorable, and it's kind of parodying a lot of action trailers. So, that's one way that you can showcase your work even before you have anything ready. I think that's a cool way to do an announcement trailer. It certainly went above and beyond what an announcement trailer needs to be. I like it. It stuck in my mind as something that went outside of the norms of trailers, but at the same time was exactly what you would expect with an action-based cinematic Announcement trailer.
Now, this can be a whole bunch of things. This is why I find it very difficult. Sometimes people ask what sound like very simple questions, and I have trouble answering because the answer is so dependent on your exact circumstance.
I mean, that's not only true for showcasing your work, but it's just true for game design in general. You know, if somebody asks me, "Hey, is it good that I want to include this thing in my game?" Or that, you know, here's a design for a game. And it's like, well, anything can work. It just depends on the game you're making, what you're, you know, what's the context of this? Who are you releasing it to? Who do you want to buy it? You know, so much of game design just relies on context, not only internal with like what the team can accomplish, what the team has experience doing, but also external, like what's the date? You know, what are people expecting from a turn-based CRPG nowadays? Well, Baldur's Gate 3 I think changed the meta a bit, and now people are wanting a little bit more of production value put into their CRPGs. Well, that's a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is I can probably sell a higher budget CRPG to a publisher if we had a design for it. Bad news is now we need to have an even higher production value to our CRPG, and an older game, you know, an older game in terms of production value may not meet the standard for this new market that has been introduced to the CRPG genre. Yeah, bad news is you got to deliver on that. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, exactly. So it depends.
So let me explain what I mean by that. Here are some things that you might want to showcase about your game. I'm just going to say game, whether it's demo, game design portfolio, game trailer. I'll just say game. Does it have a unique mechanic? Is there something fun and different that you can do in combat or in dialogue?
Show
or
naked
just
characters.
When you're walking around and exploring and solving puzzles or whatever. What is that something that's unique to your game that you've never seen this mechanic, or you've never seen it implemented this way, or you've never seen it used this way?
Generally, like, what are your selling points? And as we've mentioned before, your selling points don't have to be explicitly unique. Sometimes what makes a game unique is the amount of quality put into certain aspects that wasn't present in prior games, or a unique combination of things that were seen in games, right? Palworld doesn't do anything unique, except for the fact that it mixed the survival crafting, guns and stuff with Pokemon-type gameplay. That's what made it unique, was this combination. You usually don't look for unique mechanics, you just want to get the overall feel of the game. Unique mechanics get old fast for me. I think that unique mechanics help to sell to me personally, but it may not be for everybody. But I don't think that unique mechanics are going to be the only thing that to me will say, yes, you should play this game and it will be fun. Sometimes I like a game that just, oh, this looks like fun. It's a fair price. Doesn't do anything unique, but guess what? I can turn my brain off and probably play this.
Maybe your game doesn't have any instances. So it's a big open world and there's never a loading screen once the game starts up. That's interesting.
The selling point.
Or maybe you do have instances, but NPCs cross them the same way players do. So if you run out of a dungeon and instance out, the monster instance out right behind you. If you run into a town, through the town gate, an instance load, the monster chases you right through that.
By the way, it's a really fun mechanic because players don't expect it. They will think that they're safe. And once you teach them that they're not safe, even in towns, which I think, by the way, Dragon's Dogma 2 did a fantastic job with this. Not a perfect game. I have a lot of problems with that game. But it was great to know that you weren't safe even in towns. Very, very fun.
Is that interesting? And there are some games that have done that, but how are you going to use that? Maybe you're going to use it somehow differently. Maybe there's never a safe zone for the player because
cutting bosses to towns,
anything in your game can go anywhere. Maybe your mechanics are in the story. Maybe you have a unique way of branching the story. Maybe you let the player undo past choices in a very interesting, controlled way.
Be cool.
So the player can go, I'm not afraid to make story choices anymore because I do have an opportunity to undo them. Maybe it costs me money. Maybe it costs me time.
Saves coming.
Maybe every time I do it, it causes some creatures in the game to be a little stronger because I'm messing with temporal paradoxes.
That's cool.
Who knows?
I like that idea.
Maybe what's memorable about your game are the characters. Maybe you've written some really, really interesting characters and it's a story based game and you want to show that off. Maybe they look interesting.
Yeah, like Concord or Dragon Age Veilguard. Well written, good looking characters.
Maybe they have really cool abilities when you're adventuring with them. They can come along with you as a companion, or maybe they're really cool enemies that you have to fight and have these really cool, unusual abilities. Maybe it's the personalities you want to showcase. You've written some really interesting, cool, hopefully not sarcastic, NPCs, and you want to showcase that. Great. If that's what you want people to know about your game, that's what you put in your demo.
Is Tim bashing maybe Tim's just like us. He's gotten tired of sarcastic characters, even though I would think that Tim has written a lot of sarcastic characters in his games. I gotta think about that. But I'm just getting tired of sarcastic characters. Jesus Christ. I'm so tired of it.
Sarcastic NPCs, and you want to showcase that. Great. If that's what you want people to know about your game, that's what you put in your demo or your trailer or your game design portfolio.
Flaptrap.
Maybe you're a level designer and you've made really beautiful levels. Maybe the architecture is amazing. Like, people are going to screenshot this. People are just going to stop and look. Maybe it's got wonderful views, lots of vistas, of sunsets and beaches and cliffs and colorful, lush vegetation.
It's like, know your strong
maybe
points,
it's just
right?
got huge areas, and these vistas show off just how enormous your game is, and that when you go and stand somewhere and look at this vista, if you see it, you can go there.
I think that while it's important to showcase things like this that are unique to your game, that doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to be good to show off. Let me rephrase that. What do I mean by that? What I mean is that if your game is not predicated on the idea that this beautiful vista has any relevancy to gameplay or to the player's moment-to-moment playing of the game, it just, what's the point of it, right? So maybe beautiful vistas are easier, but if you show off a system that doesn't really impact the core, the core loop that much, and you focus too much on that, then you're kind of wasting time that you could have spent showing off things that were unique and are part of the core loop. You played Avowed yet? I will talk about Avowed after the video here, Midrong, but I have like 20 hours. Nice vista with the ruin puzzle that when you complete it's a huge dick.
There.
Whatever works.
I've seen more than one game where they point that out in a trailer and then multiple times in an interview. If you can see it, you can get there. That's kind of cool.
Seeing that mountain, you can climb it.
Very unique to you, your game, your trailer, your demo, your portfolio.
Yeah.
What do you want to show off? Then, once you've decided what you want to show off, you have to think about how you want to show it. And just remember that going into this, I always have this rule that showing is better than telling.
Yep.
So don't tell me you have an interesting NPC. Show me some dialogue. Show me some cutscenes where they're doing something interesting.
The problem is showing dialogue is so hard. It's so difficult to show the fact that we have a branching narrative. It is... It's every way that I think that you can reasonably show it is kind of boring. And even the trailers that I think do it well, it's still like, okay, well... Sometimes just telling me that there's a branching narrative, I don't know, showing consequences to branching narrative, I think is the key to showing what a branching narrative should be. It's hard to showcase good dialogue story. It really is. I think that with main story, you can show like cutscenes and do overlays of voice scenes, of voice lines, right? But at the same time, showing good dialogue and showing a branching narrative, I don't know how the hell you show that in a really good way in a trailer. That's something that is better for like an interview or a developer commentary talk sort of thing on your Steam page where you say this is an RPG where your choices matter. You'd have to show off how those choices matter, and I think that you can do it, but I don't know, it's not the greatest way. And showcasing good dialogue as a whole is like, well, dialogue takes time. One good dialogue line can take 30 seconds to play. Well, that's 30 seconds of a trailer that I'd rather show something more visible and more enjoyable to see than dialogue. That's why it's better to have something besides those that are good, otherwise you're toast. Yeah, that too. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
If don't tell me you have beautiful levels, show me.
But beautiful levels are the easy thing. It's like, okay, we make good levels, we make good backdrops. That's so easy to show, and that is what you should be showing. But good dialogue, I don't know. I mean, do you look at Elden Ring? Do you think Elden Ring showed any of its systems in a trailer where you could talk to NPCs in different locations and have interesting quest rewards? No, because it's boring to show. Instead, they have great combat, great bosses, great music, great vistas, and that's what they decided to show.
Don't tell me you have interesting combat, show me. People want to see beauty. They don't want to be told, okay, there's going to be things in this game that's beautiful. Now let's move on. People want to laugh, not be told that something's funny.
Yes.
Hey,
we have comedic dialogue in our game. Jesus Christ, it's so cringy. Nowadays, it's how most people get invested in a game visual-wise. I mean, you say people, also publishers. It's sad to say, which is exactly why we are going a bit above and beyond with our prototype, right? Laugh now, player. Elden Ring kind of transcended the showcase. It didn't really have to show anything, and people will buy it. Well, I think you buy some of that too with credibility. So when people know, it's like, okay, From Software is making a new, Souls-like game. I'm in. Rockstar is making a new Red Dead Redemption. I'm in.
When you say something, too, think soundbite. That's what I was trying to think of earlier. Soundbite.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be catchy. It's got to be short. It's got to be things you want people to quote. If you do your job right, you will see people quoting that. If you put these catchy little sound bites in your design portfolio, you might hear someone use that sound bite when they're interviewing you.
I think that sound bites are just sound bites when interviewing. I mean, I haven't thought about that. Sound bites in interview. Maybe. Yeah, I could see that. If you're trying to show like a design portfolio of games that you've worked on, the design you've done. The issue is if you're the type of designer that's working in the back end of the systems, doing like the balance, how the hell do you show game balance in a trailer or a visual showcase? Yes, here's my spreadsheet. As you can see, I have these fields here that you can change, and this modifies all the other things, and then I can use that in a separate spreadsheet to calculate how much damage it takes to kill each creature, and then I can sort that by difficulty. Great, thanks. I'm already asleep. I mean, I wouldn't be asleep because I like that stuff, but it's not visually appealing in any way.
If you put it in a trailer, you'll see people using that soundbite on forums and like, oh, I can't wait to play this game. Soundbite.
Yeah, trailers are good for that.
If you use it in an interview and then you hear the future interviewers saying that soundbite back to you, you're onto something. I used to say things and then see it show up in print.
Yeah.
When magazines were a thing. And I was like, that soundbite has now gotten a life of its own. And it's a way of conveying what our game is about in a very short, tiny way. So this is something that you have to work on. And if you're an artist, the equivalent of a soundbite is a piece of art that captures what you're talking about when you say your art is unusual. Does it look unusual? If your art is beautiful, is it beautiful? If your art is exotic or strange, or you're making
it has like a unique style or something,
a weird Escher-esque, non-Euclidean game, show me.
And unique art styles are very, very appealing to players. Even if the game is mediocre, I promise you will get a lot of interest just by having a unique art style.
Finally, and probably one of the most important questions that you need to ask that a lot of people don't ask is, how much time do you have to get this point across? Because if you're going in for an interview, you may want to ask, how long is the interview going to last? And they may say, well, it's an all-day interview, but it's broken into 30 minutes with the programmers and 30 minutes with these artists and 30 minutes with the producers, and you will...
I have never done that, by the way. I don't know. Is anybody here in professional game dev that has had an all-day interview where you switch between teams? That sounds wild. The most I've had was 3 interviews for a place that were split up. Sounds like only a Tim Kaine level of truth. Yeah, it kind of does. Yeah, I've never seen that. I've never heard about it or seen that until Tim just mentioned it here. I mean, it's kind of efficient, but it seems like more you're bringing in a new director for your game and you want them to be able to speak to each of the teams as opposed to you're just being hired to, hey, you're the new artist. Come interview with the lead.
Artists and 30 minutes with the producers, and you will probably want to say something different in all those interviews because you're talking to people who have a particular lens. So you may have to.
By the way, it's the same when pitching a game. You need to have a different pitch for your game when you're talking to, the money holders, the investors, the people that don't give a shit about your game. They just want to see how much of return on investment you expect, versus those who publish your game and may want to curate their portfolio to meet, a certain set of like genre, and they want to know if your game is actually a good fit for their portfolio. Because if you're pitching to a publisher of RPG games and you're pitching, I don't know, a racing game, they're gonna be like, well, our audience is all RPG players. You're not a good fit here. We think your game is cool, but you're not a good fit here. So you do need to modify that a bit. You should modify the way that you pitch or that you interview to the company that you're interviewing as well, or interviewing for. For the money people, you just tell them, yes, we can monetize each step of the game. Damn you.
You may have to come up with different sound bites and different ways of showing off your portfolio to those different people.
Yeah.
If you make a game demo, you usually have a few minutes. People might play your game demo for a few minutes, and if you haven't shown them something interesting in those first few minutes, they stop. Doesn't matter if you have a 30-minute demo.
Yep.
Doesn't matter if you made a 30-minute video of gameplay. If you don't catch people in the first few minutes, they're gone.
Overly handholdy tutorials can be one of the worst things, in my opinion, for any game. It's something that I didn't like about KCD2, to be honest. I didn't mind the lore buildup of getting into the open world of KCD2, but the fact that it took me like 4 to 5 hours to actually get into the sandbox of a sandbox game is wild. Very wild. So that wasn't the greatest, and it kind of threw me off. Of course, the game is good, but yeah, it's just like know what you're trying to achieve and know this. In some cases, players will want to skip that and just jump into the game itself. And if your demo is, 30 to 60 minutes of tutorial, it's kind of frustrating.
Game trailers are even harder. When we first started making game trailers decades ago, they were 2 minutes long. Then suddenly everything was a minute.
And 30 seconds.
Then 30 seconds. Yep. Now we have 15-second game trailers.
Yep.
Do you know how hard it is to try to capture the essence of your game in 15 seconds?
It's mostly for like ads or part of like sizzle reels. If you're going to be on like a indie game sizzle reel, they're only going to be able to show like 10 to 15 seconds of your game. That's tough. That is tough. That is really, really difficult. And some games just don't work well for this sort of short form content. It just doesn't. I mean, there are some fantastic games that if you showed 15 to 20 seconds of their gameplay, I wouldn't be interested, but I would be interested in the whole game.
And I've been told the reason for this is people have short attention spans, and you just got to grab them and hold them.
Yep.
Now, this happened, though, way before TikTok and YouTube Shorts and anything like that. People never really had good attention spans.
Yeah.
But now you have even less.
Yep.
You just don't have much time to get people interested in your game. And if you're too wordy, if you're too lengthy, it's like, well, I'm going to show you this vista, and then this vista from another point, and then this vista from another point, another point, another point. A lot of people are like, it's the jungle again. Basically, if you waste the viewer's time, they will click off or zone out or move on, and you do not get a second chance. Remember, that old adage that you only get one chance at a first impression is very true for your game.
This is probably some of the best advice that he can give. Something we talk about a lot. The reason I don't market Cauldron Chronicles is not because I don't have anything to market. It's because I know that I will only get one chance to market for most people. And right now, with a prototype that has a lot of placeholder shit in it, I'm going to be sending the wrong message of what the game is and how it feels, especially from a visual perspective, by marketing it, by showing off screenshots and little clips of gameplay. It's just not ready yet. It isn't. And I know that because of the slower paced nature of the gameplay, and some of the cozier aspects, it is a game that really deserves to be given the chance to shine from a visual, from a sound perspective, and just allow you to live and breathe in the world. It's not really meant for short form content. Maybe some of the combat will be, but we're not there yet in any case either. So Tim's right. You really only get one chance, and putting your Steam page up too early is suicide. Putting out trailers, spending money on marketing too early is suicide. Don't do it. If you're not ready, don't do it. You will have. It's much better if you have one chance to make an impression, to make the best impression you can. Don't go to Steam Next Fest too early. You only get one chance at Steam Next Fest, by the way. For every game that you make, you can only be on one Steam Next Fest. Those are the rules. So don't go to Steam Next Fest without the best demo that you can make. Sorry, I'm losing my voice today. That tutorial took it all out of me. Let's finish this up.
One chance at a first impression is very true for your game, or your demo, or your trailer.
Yep.
Or your game design portfolio.
Or your portfolio too.
Going for an interview,
100%.
You want to make sure that the impression any of those things have left is the one you want to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Start with that and move back from it. What do you want people talking about? What do you want them to have liked? What do you want them to ask you about? And move backwards from that.
Which, by the way, for like a portfolio or any sort of interview materials, if you do not provide me, and this might be the case for other indie developers, probably not for AAA, but if you do not provide me with a cover letter to describe who you are, I am a lot less likely to ask you for it. I will read your cover letter. I want to see the journey and the type of person you are, because I'm hiring you to work with me. I don't want to work with somebody who's an asshole, who doesn't care about gamers, who doesn't care about games, who doesn't love what they do. I cannot see that in somebody's CV, right? Of, oh, you worked at this place before. Yeah, I can definitely tell that you were passionate about working at that place because you quit. I want to see that in some sort of portfolio, some sort of cover letter, and some sort of handwritten thing that makes you actually have to think about who you're applying for and why you're applying. But if you don't provide that, you do send a bad impression. The worst one that I've ever had somebody send me was they literally just sent me their CV out of blue, out of nowhere. I didn't ask for it. There's no job up. I didn't ask for help with anything and was offered to pay. I literally just had somebody send their CV to me in LinkedIn with nothing else. And I'm like, I don't know what do you want? And they were like, do you have a job? And I'm like, no, and this is certainly not the best way to get it. Jesus Christ. It'd be more sweet if they also sent an unsolicited dick pic. I mean, it would be memorable. If you don't, but it doesn't mean that I want it. I know I said you should be memorable. That's not what I mean. Don't send me dick pics. Unless you have like a really weird looking dick. Dear Mr. Joey Raptor, I like games too, the end. I mean, it doesn't even take much. All you need to do is just gush about games. Tell me what games you're playing. Tell me why you like those games. Tell me what got you into the game dev industry in the first place. That's what I like to see. I don't care if you made some shitty game jam games. You think I've made everything perfectly? No. I just want to see that journey that you've had from start to finish, from the days when you were working in Game Maker or something, or struggling with Unity, to now actually producing games that have gone to market. I want to see that journey because that shows to me your passion, your dedication, and your persistence.
Fill the time you have. Think about how you want to show it. That's the best advice I can give you for showcasing your work. But these are questions that only you can answer.
Yep.
So I hope this helps everybody, and I hope, Shakirovich Dev, that this answered your question.
Great video, as always, from Tim Cain. Guys, here's the link yourself. Go give it a like. Go give him a watch. And if you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching me on that one. Keep showcasing your work. Don't be afraid of showing failures. Be proud of it, learn from it, and do better. Or try to do better. Sometimes you have to regress in order to progress. But thank you for watching on YouTube, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye, YouTube. Bye-bye.